Good afternoon. This is Debra V. Wilson. I am in Winnipeg, Manitoba, in Canada. It is the 27th of August 2017. The time is 1500 hours and 57 minutes, and that's GMT minus 6. On the 22nd through the 24th of August, I attended a 3-day public panel hearing. The focus of the hearing was a public certification of expert witnesses and experts in upcoming inquiries around missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. I'm going to post several links to give you some history for those of you not familiar with the murdered, missing Indigenous women and girls. I want to be respectful and I want to be specific and why my particular interest in it. It's a saga, but in addition to it being a saga, for me, the biggest story it tells is a breakdown in relationship between the civil sector and the state via the security model. I think one of the most interesting things that I observed the 3 days was anger from several women and a few men that told their stories of why the inquiries are very important to them. The lost, the murdered family members, the missing family members. There was definitely a gender aspect to it. There's definitely an ethnicity, quote unquote, racial aspect to it. But the larger overarching theme was a sector of society that felt a lack of connection with their fellow citizens who are in the state, and their pain, not just the pain of loss, my interpretation of the family members, but the lack of care they felt. It was brought up again and again by experts and by civil society who also spoke at the 3-day hearing. The trauma was not just of the loss and violent loss of family members, friends, neighbors, but this being re-traumatized because the security model that they expected to help did not. One of the speakers, in the expert column, brought up that laws tell us how laws are in essence the relationship and give voice to the relationship we have with the state. So the functional application of laws, I would venture to say, can give voice to a functional relationship with the state. So if you don't feel that laws are fair, or you don't feel that fair laws apply to you, your particular group, your particular set of identities, I would suggest you probably feel disconnected in your relationship with the state, or you feel it's a dysfunctional relationship. So I'm going to post several links within the description box of this YouTube video that will give you some history for those of you not familiar with the murdered, missing Indigenous women and girls saga that has been unfolding here in Canada for several decades now. And I would ask you to look at it from a perspective of grief, the civilians and their loss, and the grief of many civilians that feel they've been re-traumatized because the state didn't treat them in the way they expected or sought to be treated. And what that does in terms of their relationship with the state, if we believe, and I do believe laws do inform us of our relationship with the state and how the state conceptualizes our relationship. And so what does that tell some of the citizens here in Canada? I think the perspective that I would ask you to go into reading this information, whether you're familiar or not with missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, whether you're familiar or not with the situation, is to look at it as a loss on both sides of the equation, a fracturing of the relationship with the civilians, with the state, so from bottom up. And then I would suggest, in my research, is in fact when that relationship is fractured, bottom up, how the civilians experience the state's national security model. And feeling as if you're not being protected by the state's national security modeling is your experience of the state's security modeling. I would suggest, and I am working on research to show that it actually harms the security model. I would ask you to look at this from a myriad of perspectives, but not only from a security perspective, but a breakdown in relationships. And I would ask you to look at it from the perspective of a breakdown in relationships, and relationships that have broken down, and the impact, the effect it has on the national security models of Canada. This is Debra V. Wilson. It's the 27th of August, 2017. Thank you for listening.